Good evening to everyone in China, and good day to everybody else in the rest of the world. Hi, Simon. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
I'm
Very
so
nice
glad.
to talk to you, Alberto.
I'm so glad to have you here because I know you are a big player with a lot of experience, and today we're gonna try to pick up from your experience and from your knowledge of the market. Okay, so let's go straight to the point. Today we're gonna talk about marketplaces. And we all know China is a very important market for e-commerce. Actually, China is the largest e-commerce place in the world. I mean, only in 2021, I know that numbers went up to 2,500 billion US dollar in terms of revenue. So it's almost 3 times the revenue of the United States. Okay, and it definitely is one of the largest market with the most impact from consumers to brands and the world. Mainly, China is 1.5 billion people, and approximately 1 billion of them are connected on the internet, and 900 million of them they daily make a purchase on the internet for anything. And I'm not talking just offline transaction with the with the digital payments, but I'm talking about really online purchasing. Okay, Simon, you are Chinese, but I know that you lived most of your life in Europe, in the Nordic countries of Europe, in Sweden to be exact. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and why today are you here with me?
Okay, yeah, thank you so much, Alberto. So my name is Simon Cai, and I moved to Sweden with my family when I was 5 years old, and I've been living there, all my adulthood. I went to school to there, but then obviously during that time, I saw China develop really fast, and there was a lot of demand from European companies that wanted to do business in China. So because I have a language advantage because of my parents, so I thought it would be a good opportunity for me to discover China as well as create some business opportunities.
Excellent. And listen, you look very young. How old are you, Simon?
Yeah, I'm 36 this year. So
okay, you look much younger.
Trying to keep my skincare, Yeah, I'm 36, so I'm not that young anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, when did you decide to come back? I mean, you just said, okay, I realized that you could contribute with your experience being a native Chinese and with your experience to do business for the Western companies, in particular European companies. Okay, how many years ago did you decide to move back to China?
Yeah, so growing up, I always came to China a lot, for vacation and meeting relatives, and I basically, during the university when I had the chance to come to China to do some internship, I saw the country develop really rapidly, basically between 2010 and 2022, right? So during that time, I saw a lot of business opportunities, and I decided to find a way how to get to China, right? So I was fortunate enough to find a good company to send me to Asia. So I was based in Hong Kong, and I worked there for 3 years before I started my own company, doing e-commerce.
Okay, so your company is established in 2016, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And ever since you deal with the digital world, so you act like a digital player for international brands to help them to position their products in the marketplaces, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Your company is called Triple Digit, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to talk a little bit about Triple Digit?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I chose the name Triple Digit because of we aim for 3 times growth, right? Like three digits growth. So that's the background of the name. We are based in Shenzhen in southern China, and we have today around 200 plus employees, handling everything from operations to warehousing and to customer service. Basically, the full scale of e-commerce to do, for China.
Okay, I see. So 200 employees. Okay, what do they do all day?
Yeah, so as you guys might know, even though China's e-commerce market is big, it's actually across several big platforms like marketplaces, right? So every marketplace has their own style and their own sort of strategy to operate. So that's why we have the teams to handle the different marketplaces to ensure that they are up to date and they know the latest developments. A lot of staff is also doing customer service because in China, if you look at the numbers, when customers buy from e-commerce store, they usually engage with customer service. This is around 30% of the time. So for every 3 purchase, there's 1 person that's actually wanting to have some interaction. Maybe they ask about the size or about the promotion, etc. So that's why the customer service is a very important factor to have a high transaction, right? Because the customer, they expect to be replied within, like in our company, we're aiming for 30 seconds, meaning that if someone asks a question, we have to reply within 30 seconds in order to maintain the customer, right? And that is a big difference from, other markets such as Europe or US, where maybe, it's more like one day you expect to get a reply.
Simon, whenever I explain about the Chinese market and how the Chinese consumer are, let's say, spoiled in terms of customer service, I explain to the foreign companies that, even when we talk and when they have an official account on WeChat and so, which is mainly the most and the only communication way we could deal with the clients. I tell them that, once someone sends you a message, you have got a 48 hours windows where you are able to reply to them. Okay, if you don't reply within 48 hours, okay, then that window's closed and you will never know who contacted you, what message was sent, and you have no track and no possibility to get back to them. Okay, but obviously I also explained that when people go on their marketplaces, like for instance they're making a purchase on Taobao, okay, there is a bombing of informations, of new offers, of things that it's interactive and it's not a bot. I mean, this is not an automatic system. This is real people behind the screens that know what you're doing and they're there to support and help you. So this is the most important thing that happens within any marketplace. And obviously, it's not the marketplace that does it. These are the technical partners, company like you. Correct?
Yes, that is correct. I mean, for obvious reasons such as time difference, it doesn't really work to have a customer service team based in Europe or in other markets. And also, China is, as you guys maybe know, it's very unique, right? The Chinese consumer, they're not convenient speaking English, right? They prefer Chinese, and it's very, like you said, they're very spoiled by the different brands that serve to them. So that's why you got to have a customer service team that has experience and that can reply in time and in Chinese.
Okay. And talking about your services, what are the major platforms that you're working on?
Yes, so we are focusing mainly on Tmall. That is still the biggest platform in China, for accounting for more than 50% of the total market, right? The e-commerce market. So Tmall is the focus, and that is also as a brand. When you have a Tmall flagship store, that is sort of your official website in China, because as you guys might know, the Chinese consumer, they don't really go to the official website to buy, because the Chinese payment system using WeChat Pay and Alipay primarily are not integrated with such as MasterCard or Visa, etc. So that's why it's not convenient for people to actually pay using MasterCard, because a lot of them, they don't even have, a bank card with supporting MasterCard. So that's why the Chinese payment systems is much more easier for them, and that is connected to all these marketplaces.
Excellent. Yeah, but talking about this, maybe we exit a little bit from the marketplace issues, okay? But and we go back onto the reality of China. China, in terms of digital payments, I see it as a dichotomy. That means that there are two positions, two main players. One is Alibaba with Alipay, and the other one is Tencent with the WeChat Pay. Okay, these two systems usually. They are wallets, basically, where they are wallets where people put money inside, okay, and this money is available for online payments and transfers and splitting the bills and all of the other things, okay. But there are two different wallets, there are two different pockets. So either you have money on one side or you have money on two sides. I know that most Chinese, they have both, and they keep money on both of the wallets, okay. But don't you think, and this is a personal question, okay, don't you think this is kind of limiting the possibility to expand the business? Because we also have only Alibaba on one side and Tencent on the other, okay. So JD with Tencent and Tmall and Taobao and Tmall Global, okay, for Alibaba, okay. Would is that's a problem sometimes, to choose where to stay and what is best. What would you say about it?
Yeah, you're totally right. I mean, it's sort of like a duopoly, right? It's they basically together have like 100% of the market. But we actually see a trend changing in China, where the government is starting to try out the CBDC, which means the digital yuan, and that is supposed to be, neutral, right? Like you can use it for all the different online or offline places. Hence, limiting the monopoly of those two companies. But I mean, you're totally right. I mean, if you buy on Tmall, you can only use Alipay. So that means you have to have money on the Alipay account. So it is still issues, right? Like they're still trying to protect the market from their competitors.
Yeah, good. Okay, so before we go back to understand how the marketplace operate and how you can help the brands into the operation and um, uh, daily operation, let me ask you one thing. Okay, assuming I have a very nice brand, so my Antinucci's products are very good. They're doing very good in Europe, okay, and in the Western world, and very well known, okay. And I feel satisfied on my job, and I decide to enter China, okay. So if I would go to ask myself as a China expert or China specialist, as I like to describe myself, okay, the first things I would like to check if my products are suitable for the Chinese market. That means I need to be China ready before I can enter the Chinese market. But assuming that my products are okay for China, and assuming that I also have a budget to enter the Chinese market, and assuming that also I have a time to wait, that means I have enough rollout months to put into the deal. Okay, so let's say I have 18, 24 months before I could see any return of investment. I do have a budget for the investments, and I do have the right products for the Chinese market. Okay, I still have a question. I mean, where should I put my products? Should I put my products in Tmall? Should I put my products on JD? Should I put my products on both and double the cost and so having a longer return of investment, or what? What would you suggest?
Yeah, so that is actually a lot of times the typical customer that we are helping, right? They have a long-term view in China. They know it's a difficult market, but they want to succeed. So as a luxury brand, you probably want to be in a recognized marketplace. So we would usually recommend Tmall, because that is, where all the big brands are, right? Like the exclusive brands or the high price consumers are. Unless it's electronics, right? Electronics is JD, definitely. That is because of the purchasing habit. But okay, so say you're a luxury brand, then you're on Tmall, right? And the most problem that I often see is that the brand itself, right? They assume that they are equally famous in China as they are, in their home market. Maybe because they feel that, I have a lot of fans on Instagram and Facebook, etc. But reality is that China has a firewall. So the typical Chinese consumer, I'm not talking about, Beijing, Shanghai customers, right? They might have VPN, but majority don't use VPN, so they cannot see the brand, meaning that they might not be famous at all in China. But obviously, if they're famous in their home country, we still think that they have a big possibility, right? Because the Chinese consumers are moving away from those, big global brands such as Louis Vuitton or Gucci. They're trying to find the niched luxury products, right? But they might not know about your brand. So that's why we usually suggest that you start with working on the KOCs, right? Like you start working with influencers that can explain to their fans what is this brand, does it come from Italy, we know what is the heritage of the brand. So in that way, not push them to buy, like, oh, what is this, right? They're trying to slowly seed, right? Like you create this knowledge about the brand, and then we would say we will cut the grass, right? That's a Chinese expression. That means we are moving them from fans to consumers.
I
So
see.
yeah.
That's pretty clear. So basically, independently from where the products will be placed, we need to roll out the products in the market and let the people know about the brands and what the brand really do. Okay, I remember 5, 6 years ago, I was having a talk with my dear friend Ashley Tudaranok, who is another very important Chinese specialist in the marketing and procedures. And she asked me really, a cool question like, okay, what would you tell any company that are the most important steps to do when entering China? And I say, well, there are 3 steps. I say, first one is talk about who you are. So introduce yourself and tell people who you are, your story. Okay, why you're here and what would you do. So the second thing is talk about what you do. And this is a very important thing because it's not so obvious that what you do, the products, the services, and the history behind your product and your services are so normal. Okay, so there must be something exceptional, something special about what you do. And the third point is, okay, let other people talk about who you are and what you do, which is what you mentioned before. Find some KOC, so some consumers which have an opinion about you and what you do, talk about it. In the West, we call them references, or we call reviews, okay? But in China, it's much more important. So I always recommend people, before entering China, to really have a good background of someone who tried your products and have had experience about it. That's the only way you can be certain of having some feedback from the market. Okay, so there is a first question. Okay, the first one is from Michael. Michael Khan says, Italy, new PM don't like China. I don't like talking about politics, but thanks, Michael, for the questions. Our new prime minister, that by the way, is the first female prime minister, newly elected the last Sunday, okay, never expressed any opinion about China. What she doesn't like is the dominance of other countries over a territories or over a market or anything. So she is not someone that likes people to be taking over some space without the right justification. So if China is acting weirdly and mastering a situation, she definitely would not like that. But that's it, okay? She definitely, as a prime minister, would love to receive a lot of income taxes. So get the companies to pay taxes. To get taxes to be paid, we need to make revenue. To make revenue, China is a great market to go and sell the products. So she would love money coming from the China sales. So thank you, Michael, for the question. Another question is coming from Luca Tomata, and he says, what about the sport brands for outdoor segment? Where would you recommend the sport brands to place their products first? This is for you.
Yeah, this is a very good question. I mean, as you guys maybe already know, international sport brands such as Nike are doing really well in China, right? The sport, the health industry is developing in China. People are getting more outdoors, etc. But actually, lately, and this is very obvious, like just like last year to now, the outdoor segment, meaning like glamping, right? In China, we call it the English word is glamping, meaning you go camping experience, right, without actually staying over. That is becoming very popular in China. So you have a lot of young people doing that, and that means that outdoor brands that have some unique, maybe design features will have a big market. So yeah, definitely, this is a promising area to grow.
Okay, so to give Luca a straight answer to his question, which marketplace would you put the products?
Yeah. So if you're say if you're like a accessory, like a product, right? Like for example, it's like a racket, or it can be like some equipment. I would say actually do Douyin, because Douyin is the Chinese version of TikTok, right? So it has a lot of interesting young consumers that wants to discover new stuff. So it can be a good way to try out to see if your brand can have some followers or engagement. But if you're like a fashion brand, I would say Tmall is the way to go, right? You should set up a flagship store on Tmall, and grow the brand recognition long term using working with influencers and buying traffic.
Excellent. Okay. Can I add an answer to Luca? Luca, in case your product is more like entertainment products, sport products, but you're more to the leisure side of it, and talk about lifestyles, maybe you could also use Xiaohongshu, Little Red Book. Little Red Book is definitely a place to talk about personal experience and lifestyles. So more sporty is more on Douyin, so TikTok, okay, which is a marketplace, an international marketplace. And the second one would be, if it is a luxury items, would be better to be placed on Tmall. But if it is talking about lifestyles and experience, then Little Red Book would be my recommendation. What do you say, Simon?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, Little Red Book is a good way to create awareness of the brand. The reason I didn't mention that primarily is because it's very hard to actually get sales from Little Red Book, because it is sort of like a platform where people discover stuff, but then they need a marketplace such as Tmall to transact. Yeah, but you're right. Little Red Book is definitely important.
Absolutely. Another thing is that before we go back into the technical details of the services you provide, my experience tells me that sometimes the bigger is not always the better. What I means with this, talking about big marketplaces, there is always a very big investment, because they are expensive themselves. For instance, if I and please correct me if I say it wrong, but to place a product on Tmall, just to buy it for the shop and to confirm the shop space, okay, then I need to put a deposit for approximately $50,000, okay, and then in addition to that, I will have to pay another $1,000 for each product I place, and this money is gone. I mean, it's not there is no return on this money. This is just to open up a shop. But then you are one of the many, and it's not that people really know that you are there, because you are in some directory hidden, and you need to be seen. So people need to find your name and your products based on the internal search engine, and being also using advertising. And this is so important. So there is so much money to be spent in there. So if you are not so sure about who you are and what is your position now in China, that would mean, taking a bigger risk. So the bigger is not always the better. I recommend always to have an initial step for a couple of years in the market at least, or until you are very well known, on investing on secondary marketplaces, and like you mentioned, Douyin, for instance, which is also doing cross-border. Cross-border is an exceptional way to do business in China, because it gives the possibility to any foreign company to place their products into the Chinese marketplace, but to deliver the products only after they bought it. And then you can deliver the products directly from your country, or you could use an international logistic that will take care of the local dispatch of the products. Okay, and this give you a great opportunity to save a cost at first, but be seen and be known on the market. Have you handled some cross-border operations so far, Simon?
Yes, I have. So basically, all our clients that do beauty products, they are doing cross-border, and the reason being that they don't want to, undergo all those regulatory testing, right? Which sometimes involves animal testing, which is, against a lot of the values of these beauty products. Also, for beauty products, the cross-border concept is much more attractive, because they feel better when the product is actually coming from abroad directly.
The
Right?
original
It's not,
company.
yeah, it's manufactured, in France or in Italy. So they know that when they pay a premium price, they get, the real stuff.
Definitely.
That mindset is still there today.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I understand. I mean, they do have a point with that, definitely. Okay, and talking about our market, let's go back into some technical details of the operation. Okay, so when you talk about your customers, I mean, and for customers, I mean the brands. Okay, what do you exactly do? You ask them to ship the products to you, so you take care of the logistic as well, or you use a different logistic? And before that happen, what is it that you really need to fine tune for their presence on the territory?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so usually our process is very data driven. So before we contact any brand, or if they contact us, we will start with doing a market research. We look at how well are they known in China today, on the various search platforms and social media, etc. In order to give them like a realistic view, right? Like, if, for example, if they are like not known at all, then it might be difficult for them to succeed in the short term without spending a lot of money. But okay, say provided that they are, having already some knowledge in China, like the consumers know about them, then we would do a sort of like a sales forecast. So we would estimate, depending on how much their competitors are selling, we would give them all that data in order to provide a realistic forecast. And then if they agree to that, then we would, ask them like, what is your timeline, right? Like, do you want to succeed fast, or are you okay with like building up a follower and then eventually, grow your sales faster? Because that has a different strategy when it comes to the seeding area, which I mentioned before, working with influencers, etc.
Okay, good. This is a very good point. Okay, let's go back to Luca. Luca has a new questions, okay, and he's asking for products with sizes. Foot cross-border is not advisable, right? Well, let me give you first a short answer, and then you go for it. To my experience, Luca, anything is advisable. Okay, in terms of if you know what you're doing, that means you need first to do your good market research and understand that what is in demand. And also, if it is cross border, that means that you can also keep stocks in your warehouse in Italy, in Europe, wherever you are, and then ship directly to the clients. They understand that it's shipped directly from Italy, and then they will wait for the time of a delivery, which is today very fast. Within 5 to 8 days, they are able to receive the goods. So it's not a problem in terms of size. Simon?
Yes, I agree partly. I
Yeah.
think what Luca is referring to is when you do, for example, Tmall Global, which is the one of the biggest cross-border platforms, it is actually not allowed for the customer to do returns, right? But when you have clothing with different sizes, people, they want to, try out the clothing, and then they might ask still, like, can I do the return? But then if it's cross-border, if you're gonna send the products back to Italy, for example, then it's really not economical, right? as you for the brand owner. So yeah, maybe that is some challenges there.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I mean, as I said, if you know exactly what you want to sell and what are the clients, and they know what to buy in terms of size, okay, then everything is advisable, okay. If you don't know, and there is this return policy, it's definitely not economical as a solution, okay. There is the trend in China, however, to have people that buy multiple sizes of the same products and then return the one that don't fit. We see it also in Europe and in America, this kind of trend, okay? And definitely you need to be local for that. And talking about this, okay, do I need to set up my own company in China to be able to do to be able to be selling products on the marketplaces?
No, you don't. I mean, for the cross-border platforms, right, such as Timo Global, they actually have a process where you can use your existing company, say in Italy, and then they also accept the trademark in the home country, right? If you have trademark in Europe, for example, then it is accepted to sell your products on Timo Global. But however, if you're gonna scale your business, right, sometimes we need brands that already have a lot of recognition and traffic in China. We would actually advise them, if you're looking to long-term become a big player in China, you need to set up a domestic e-commerce, right? Meaning that you actually ship your products to China, hold them in a warehouse, either in our warehouse or they have their own warehouse, and make sure that the customer will receive the products fast, right? Because that is actually a big advantage today in China. Like the consumer, they expect to get the products within like 1 to 2 days, and if you cannot provide that, it will hinder your growth a lot.
Okay. There is these things, okay. Dealing with cross-border, there are several fiscal advantages because also for the clients, for the end users, because they don't pay the full duty and VAT that needs to be paid in case the products are imported to China. There is a flat tax, which is approximately 9.1%. Okay, it depends. It's a calculation of both duties and VAT, but it's around 9.1%. And the goods is arrived from either a custom warehouse, a bounded warehouse, or from abroad directly. And this is the thing, okay? For the European companies that sell with this methodology, what would be a limit of revenue that you would recommend before they start thinking about having their own China company?
Yeah, that is a very good question. I mean, what we see, right, is we have basically two type of clients, right? The one type is they want to become big in China. They don't care how long time it takes and how much money they want to be, and they know that they can achieve that. And another more common is that they will try out, right? They will see like how much sales do we actually get. So usually when we look at the sales forecast, we would say that if you're selling for less than 2 million RMB, which is around 200,000 euro per year, then it's not worth it, because it takes a lot of time to set up everything, and also you need to send the products and have the warehousing, etc. So yeah, basically if that, I would say it's a number, right? Like we would not even recommend them to come if they don't have that.
So if we sell less than $200,000, then forget about registering a company. But then we have another comment from Annie, okay, which is saying that cross-border e-commerce is good for new brand entry, Chinese market easily, okay. Marketing strategies B2C to B. And we have Chinese company in Weihai, tax-free zone, and it's really good, especially for beauty products. Weihai is a city close to South Korea. So completely the opposite direction from where you are, because you're based in Shenzhen, and Weihai is based close to South Korea, which is very far from where you are. Okay, and but you see, and then she continued with her message and says, and having a Chinese company registered is good also for the trademark registration. Okay, and this is something very important we should say. We should consider trademark registration and brand name registration and everything is so important to have it done in China before even thinking about anything. So thank you, Annie, for reminding us this. It's been a great contribution. Simon, do you know
Yeah.
Weihai? Where is it?
Yes, I know. It's in Shandong province, northern China, like close
Yeah.
to northern.
Have
Yeah,
you been
but
there?
yes, I have. It's a
Is that
beautiful,
cheaper than
beautiful city.
Shenzhen?
Yeah, it is. It is a smaller city. Yeah.
Okay, so let's move to Weihai, like Annie said.
Yeah. Maybe eventually, yeah, we can look at that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but there is one problem then we may have because you are doing a lot of digital marketing services. Okay, so you have, I guess that most of your employees they do a lot of uh, digital communication. Okay, when I ran my company in Shenzhen, I had so much difficulties to find a good designer and good programmers for any kind of platform. Okay, is it still so, or now is everybody doing digital marketing in Shenzhen?
Yeah, I mean, I think the trend is very positive, right? Because the market has grown a lot for e-commerce. So a lot of young people, they want to also work in this space. So for a lot of our employees are very young, right? Like they're like below 25 years old. So they're another type of, consumer group. They live online, right? Their private life and also their working life. So yeah, for us, it has been, obviously there is turnover, right? Like, they come and they work for a few years and then they want to move on, which is understandable. But, we don't have an issue today with, having good employees within design or social media or e-commerce operations, but they're very local, right? So I should highlight that, they don't always speak English very good, and that is sort of, still the barrier in China, right? If you want to build a team of highly qualified staff and you want them to speak English, that is gonna cost you extra. Yeah, that's gonna cost you extra. Yeah.
As I always say, China is is a land of miracles. You can get everything done at a cost, but you can get everything done. So
Yes.
yes, I absolutely so. So Annie says again, the first step is to protect the brand. Thank you, Annie. One thing I forgot, and I don't want to forget anybody. Okay, I forgot that we had this message before everything started, and which is George who say Tachaha. And thank you very much, George. Okay, just didn't want to leave you behind. Okay, this is one of the comments. Okay, so assuming that you and I have an agreement, so I have assigned you as my technical um, partner for taking care of my products in one or more marketplace. Okay, where should I send the goods to? Should I send the goods to you, to anybody else? How does it work?
Yeah, I mean, provided, right, that you actually can do the domestic e-commerce, meaning, again, I want to also highlight that the trademark is very important because we have a lot of cases where the trademark is taken by Chinese companies or they haven't registered, then they cannot, actually do e-commerce in a bigger scale. So that is important. But anyways, yeah, so provided that you work with us, right, you can send your products to our warehouse in Shenzhen. We have a full team there. Our warehouse is very modern. We have 24/7 surveillance. Room temp, like a good temperature in the warehouse. To make sure that the products stay high quality. So yeah, that is the easiest way for a brand to do, and we provide that kind of service to the brands that also work with us when it comes to e-commerce. So it's sort of
Okay.
like a package. Yeah.
But is it a bonded warehouse?
No, it is not a bonded warehouse.
Okay.
So meaning that you actually need to pay the import tax, right, to get the products in. And
Okay.
that
So,
is
but if it is not, yeah, sorry about it. But if it is not a bonded warehouse, that means that once I ship a product to this warehouse, the product is not mine anymore. So, who is the buyer before the end user buy?
okay. Yeah. So there's basically two ways you can do it, right? The one way, which is the easiest way, but maybe not the best way, is that our company becomes the buyer of this. So we actually purchase the goods from you, the company, and then we own it, right? So that is, easiest ways. But the second way, which we always actually recommend, is that you, as a brand, you register a Chinese company, and that company becomes the purchaser of the product. So you own not only your goods but also your Tmall store, right? Like your e-commerce store is all owned by you as the subsidiary of the European company.
Okay, so this means that I have already a business going on for at least $200,000 revenue.
Yes, exactly. So that means that if you go for this setup, obviously you will need a certainty that you will actually have a
All
good
right, but
revenue, right?
then,
So
but then in this case, I need to go back and talk to Jonathan Liu, that we spoke a couple of weeks ago about how to set up a branch office in China, how to set up a company in China. Okay, one day I will introduce Jonathan to you. He's a good guy. I'm pretty sure you're gonna like him. Okay, so okay, so this is very important. Okay, and talking about goal, I mean, should I choose you as a partner? Okay, what is it that your way to work, and how should we talk to each other? How should we regulate? Should I just send you, okay, these are my products, you take care of it, or should we think about it together, how to handle the whole engagement and everything? Tell me a little bit more on how you work.
yeah, of course. I mean, so since we have been operating for a few years and we have a number of clients, we actually see that those that do best are the brands that actively engage in developing the business with us in China, right? So we usually only work with like premium products, right? Premium products meaning that their their trademark and their brand has a lot of story and value. So when we see that the company, the marketing department, that they actively engage in developing their brand in China, that is how you actually can succeed long term, right? So we would actually advise the company to actually actively adapt for the Chinese market, but obviously we also have an option where you basically send us the products and then we would do everything for you and we will give you a daily report of the sales as well as the return, all the data related. If you don't, want to take care of China at all, right? That is also a possibility.
Okay, good. Okay, so uh, once we have proven the top quality commerce operation is in place and the digital marketing and the brand building has been set up and the social commerce and they talk natively to the end user, then we will start selling the products. And will the sales come up immediately, or did you experience a kind of lack of return? I mean, how long after? How many weeks, how many months after we start having a shop will be able to see some results based on your experience?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we have worked with a number of brands, right? And they all develop in different pace. We have seen brands that do very slow in the beginning, but then they sort of get a very rapid growth, right? And we have brands that always grow like this, right? So yeah, I mean, it really depends on the brand, and we will not recommend them to do China e-commerce if we don't believe they would sell, right? So yeah, it never happened that we have no sales the first month. I can maybe mention that.
Yeah, that happened. Okay, so you gently supplied some brands, some of your customers, which you collaborate with. Okay, and I can see Daniel Wellington. They're doing watches. Okay, I can see Tool. They're doing ceramic stuffs. I can see what does Smile Labs do?
Yeah, it's a beauty product like for teeth, like mouthwash and etc.
Okay, and babyshop.cn. What is Baby Shop selling?
Yeah, that is
Obviously, stuff for
that is
baby.
yeah, that is baby clothes. Yeah, premium baby
Oh,
clothes.
clothes, not baby powder, not
No,
milk, not that kind of things.
yeah,
Okay,
it's
is
fashion
there a
clothes.
limitation? Is there some kind of law that controls all the distributions of baby products, or is it free to sell milk powder, for instance?
Yeah, I mean, so the reason why we are not working with, for example, milk powder companies, because the regulatory hurdle is very high. So it's not very easy to obtain all the licenses, etc., to sell, and the competition is already very harsh, right? Like you have a lot of baby product brands from all over the world in China already. So to compete with them, it's not very easy for a newcomer.
Okay, so talking about your clients, okay, I do have few slides that dig a little bit further about what you did for them. For instance, like we say, Daniel Wellington, what did you do for them? Who were they before China, and what are they now in China?
Yes, so Danny Wellington is a Swedish company that started with watches, but now they also sell fashion jewelry. The companies came into China about 10 years ago, and then they only sold on the official website, right? So they had some sales from China from the official website, but very small. I think it was less than 10 million RMB, which is around 1 million US dollar. So what we did is we started to help them enter those marketplaces, starting with Tmall and then moving on to now today we have 10 different marketplaces that we run their store. So they've been
10
able to grow.
marketplaces.
Yeah, 10 different marketplaces. Yeah. And then we have been able to grow their sales very rapidly. So now their annual sales is around 500 million RMB, which is around 50 million US dollars on all platforms.
Okay, I'm very interested. Let me ask you one thing, okay? You mentioned 10 different marketplaces, okay? Which means most of them, if not all of them, okay? Uh, and Daniel Wellington is doing mainly in watches. Okay, so it's cheap watches, very good market perception. So the market thinks that it's a luxury item, even if it doesn't cost as a Rolex, just to make an extreme comparison. Okay, what is the channel of communication you use with your clients? I mean, are you still massively using a WeChat as a channel of communication, or the clients they talk to you directly through each and every different marketplace?
Yeah, so we do have a official WeChat website, right? Like sort of the official website in China where you can learn about the collections, etc. But the transactions are still mainly coming from the marketplaces, and like you mentioned, every marketplace had their own sort of the target group, right? So we try to adapt, our replies and our marketing directions for each marketplace. Danny Wellington, when they started in China, they were focusing on the first tier cities like Shenzhen, like Shanghai, like Beijing. But today, they are actually mainly selling in the smaller cities in China, meaning that it's mostly students, etc. But that transition or sort of that journey is what we see for many brands, right? When they enter China, they focus on like Shanghai mostly, right? Because that's the fashion capital of China. They try to establish a trend like the the consumers in Shanghai, they are, buying it, and then that spreads in Chinese social media, and then you see the smaller city, the consumers that will buy it.
Okay, I do have a question, still a question for Daniel Wellington. Since the success you had with them, okay, and the possibility and the opportunity that you had to propose them, okay, let's put your products in so many different marketplaces. was there a marketplace which you initially did not believe it would work so well, but instead that turned it out to be a very efficient way to sell the products?
Yes, yes, because when we started with a platform called Dewu, right? It's called Poison in English.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a sneaker platform starting with, but now they sell all type of products. We didn't think that that platform would become so big so fast. So meaning that when we started, we had zero, right? But then now last year we sold around 100 million RMB only on that platform, and the interesting thing is that, for example, in Europe, right, that people don't even know about this platform because it's not mentioned in media. It's not as popular as Alibaba or Tencent, right? So it's a company based in Shanghai, and they are doing really well.
Wow, this is so cool. I mean, I want to sell in Poison. Let's start. I need a product for.
Yeah.
Okay. Another of the slides you provide, okay, is how you accompany the clients to the kickoff. Okay. There is a lot of information in here, and it's too tiny the fonts that we can't read. But would you like to summarize it and tell us a little bit on how you like to work with your clients?
Yeah, so usually we will always have sort of a tailored proposal for each brand, right? So our focus is not to take in too many brands, but the few ones that we take in, we want them to become the next Danny Wellington, right? So we prefer to have a brand where we sell on 10 different marketplaces, and they're doing really well than having 10 brands, but we only sell very little for each. So we will always do a tailored proposal for them, which is around 50 slides. So it's a lot of data from competitors, from their search results on in China, etc. So it gives them a lot of information about the current situation for the brand in China. And then we will go through the forecast in sales, and we'll go through the budget that we believe is needed, in order to reach those sales targets. And if they are okay with that, then we will go through and we will propose a timeline where we execute all that, right? But sometimes we see the brands when they see, it is very, very expensive, then they might not want to do it. And I think that is fine, right? The idea or the purpose is to find brands that have as high ambitions as what we have, such as Danny Wellington.
Yeah, perfect. This is very interesting. So let's say that working with you means following up with the three different steps. Okay, like we summarized here. So the first is to understand the local requirement and fully understand the kind of cooperation you have with your clients. And I'm not talking about just working with you. I think this is a general rule for everybody that is capable of handling technicalities and partnership with the management of marketplaces. Okay, so first is understanding the local requirement. And second is to locally adapt the strategy and the operation of the products you're handling. Okay, and then what you will try to do is to reduce the risk and the cost and to maximize the return of investment with the sales. As you mentioned, you say that the peculiarity of your company is that you kind of choose the clients you like to work with. Okay, so let me ask you these things. Do you have a kind of R&D division in your company that goes and look for brands which have a potential in the market but they're not yet present?
Yes, we do have a process, right? So obviously we are in a situation where you have most of the bigger brands already in China, right? Globally from Europe and US, etc. But then our next development is to see those small niche brands that are popular in China, but maybe the brand itself, it doesn't even know that it has such a popularity in China because they're not a big company and they may be family owned, etc. So we have a process where we try to find out what are the brands. We also talk to the marketplaces, which brands do you want, which ones would you support, to give them like free traffic, etc. So we try to, always have brand names that we really want to work with, and then we will actively go out and try to, engage with them.
Perfect. Okay, so my questions comes natural. Do you accept for application? That means that do you accept, do you welcome companies that go like, yeah, I would like to know if my brand, my products is good for the Chinese market. Okay, would you give them an analysis, or would you just skip them because they're not famous yet?
No, I mean, I think we will always look at each brand, right? Like if they're interested to do e-commerce in China, we'll definitely, have a look at their situation in China. Unfortunately, a lot of the times, the reality might that they are, maybe lacking the trademark, or the product is not suitable for China, etc., or their segment is simply too small. Right? Then we would actually tell them realistically, we don't think it is the right timing now. Maybe, when you become bigger in your home market, then, let's talk again. And we would try to give them a realistic situation. Right? We don't want to, promise a lot of sales, because that is not how we work. We charge very small fixed fee. Our profit comes from commission, right? Meaning that we actually do sales for the brand. So that's how we actually make money. So we will not do a brand just because they are willing to do China, right? Because they might not succeed, and then we will all be disappointed.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is very, very, very interesting. I have known many different players in the market, and I've been working with several of them. And sometimes I felt like, it's not good to say, but some of them are kind of gold diggers. So they only look for the most profitable item with the least troubles situation. Okay, but China is a complicated market. China is a complex market and is full of challenges. Okay, so it really is a team play game. It is a way to work together to sort out and anticipate the eventual problems that you may have before you can go full scale. Sometimes it happens that things change suddenly, and then you need to enact with your plan B or with another strategy that you may have thought about. And this is so important to understand that it's so difficult also to explain to the Western companies, which have a direction to follow, and they just want to get the result of following that direction. Things change in China. We never know what's going on. This last couple of years with the pandemic situation taught us that we have to be ready to sold everything and start selling ice creams, which maybe is the most profitable business. But still, we do have a chance. Simon, we almost got to the 1 hour spot, which was our target to get. It was a beautiful and very interesting talk. Would you like to leave us with some wisdom pearl? Would you like to tell us some last suggestion?
Yeah, I would say that this is the perfect time to actually do e-commerce for China, because the market is very mature here. You have all the consumer buying everything online, right? Because the delivery is so fast and so cheap. So I think if you're a luxury brand or like a premium brand, regardless of which category, I think you should have a look at China. At least know what is the potential.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Simon, for your words. Thank you for the experience you share with us. I appreciate a lot all of your insights. It's been nice talking to you. Thank you for everybody who followed us until now. The recording will be always available on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. To the next, maybe next time we go deeper into some case history, okay, so that we get more problems, and we see how we solve the problems together. Okay, thank you very much. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you, Alberto. Thank you,
Ciao.
everyone, for listening.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Have a good day.